You are listening to episode 84 of the Unnecessary Nonsense podcast. Last week we've had a podcast. You should have seen it. It was there. Keep checking. It's probably under the cupboard. I'm Carlos, that's Dave. I'm going to play the theme song in a second, but first I'm doing the I'm Carlos, that's Dave. Just like nod or make a sound and then I'll press the button.
Woo!
That is neither nodding or making a sound.
Let's make it a sound.
Struggling to comprehend the English language, that's Dave. I'm Carlos.
I made a sound. I did.
Eventually, at first it was like a dancing shimmy thing. Or
well, then I was. Normally I'm the one that's all about, hey, we're also in audio format and have to, describe things that are on the screen. But this time I decided to go strictly with the video thing, thinking, hey, people can see me, so who cares?
Clearly, that's yes, sure. Mm-hmm. So anyway, what's going on?
All right, so I've got two things for you, Carlos, that have been sort of occupying my week, if you will. First of all, I will say this. I have been checking out some of the audio casts of your live streams, and I've enjoyed so far. I am a fan.
Yeah.
There's some good knowledge in there, and the guys you talk to, are very knowledgeable as well. So it provides for some good. Obviously you're talking about the cards, but the sports knowledge that comes in around the cards, I find very entertaining and informative.
Well,
kudos to you on that one.
There will be you will enjoy, because I'm slowly moving my way closer and closer to the present. I'm trying not to release them too fast because they're long. They're not short. And there's an epic one in there that's comfortably clocks in at almost 7.5 hours. So it's like, I'm not playing around here. I'm not playing around. But the thing is, as we approach closer to the present, there was a tour de force, because I changed my mind originally. I did a live stream on Friday before the Super Bowl and resolved that I wasn't going to watch the Super Bowl. And as we discussed here, I kept to my promise and I did not watch the Super Bowl. That didn't mean that I didn't change my mind out of annoyance and decide to go live post Super Bowl and make my traditional nope, Tom Brady proved nothing pitch. Oh, and I had my fun.
Good.
We had an impromptu post Super Bowl live stream.
I like that. But you know what's what's fun, and we haven't really talked about this. I mean, maybe, well, whatever. I'm going to bring it up now because I might as well. But it is really fun. No matter what you actually think, just saying, like, just uttering the words "Tom Brady is not the GOAT" or something to that effect, it just sets people off like you wouldn't believe. Even people who hate Brady, it sets them off. It's really entertaining. Like, I don't think he is. I think he gets far too much credit for being in a team sport and his teams being really good that he's been on, right? But
I think the key is that his 7th Super Bowl. It's great. It's funny because it's like I was able to have fun because it's the live chat. It's a live chat. You're getting the audio version of what is a live chat because I've actually got people to the chat there. And even though it was an impromptu, I did it with 20 minutes notice and still had almost 24 people tune in to watch and listen and just hang out during it. And I got people to join in, and the guests that I had on came in impromptu who at least knew me. And then when I gave them the link, they popped on and we were doing it live. And it ended up being like a 3-hour impromptu live stream. So I
look forward to listening to that when it comes on.
I'm steadily approaching it. I'm trying to do a couple episodes a week to get caught up. So right now I'm at about the later part of December. So we're about to hit 2021. We're getting there. And then once we arrive there, it'll be a matter of time before we do the post Super Bowl one. So it'll be soon. But once that happens, I had my fun, as is traditional. But then the fun part for me was that somehow the result of this year's Super Bowl has done two things. Number one, it was the first decisive victory in Tom Brady's Super Bowl career. So, kudos to that. But it also effectively proved that he's not the GOAT and never will be.
Ooh.
No, you cherry-picked the team and got to waltz down the primrose path, performed mediocre all the way through the playoffs. You finally looked kind of good in the Super Bowl statistically because the other team played like garbage, and their defense basically stifled them and prevented them from being able to mount any kind of a retort. So it's like, I'm actually less impressed as a result of Super Bowl number 7 than I was through 6.
Ooh.
Well done. Look at you. I actually think you're worse now than I did before.
But that's the thing. I posted on Facebook after the game because I didn't watch the whole game. I watched the first half, and then by halftime I was like, I know how this is going to end, and I don't wish to watch the Tampa Bay Bucks celebrate. So I followed the score, but I watched some other stuff and did some other things, and afterwards I posted, I believe my status was something to the degree of, KC errors and Bucks elite defense carry Fogo to 7th title. Mm-hmm. And that was enough to set a lot of people off. And I had fun with it.
As you should. Dave, slowly over the years, you've learned that there is a method and a method to the madness of some proper trolling. And the best part is if the trolling has a sprinkle of truth.
Well, and people would say things, and I would go into my, like, I didn't get into any great detail, but I was, someone's like, basically the arguments boiled down to, you can't be serious. And I'm like, no, I am, to a certain degree.
It's too bad they didn't say, surely you can't be serious, because that's always a classic.
It is true. And then it became, well, you're just a disgruntled Saints fan. And I said, I'm still a Saints fan. I was disgruntled last year and the year before. This year, not so much. And then it was like, well, he's won the most Super Bowls. I was like, correct. Because I was like, if that's your metric, then sure, I can't argue.
That makes him most accomplished. That makes
right because if your only thing you care about is that the man has won the most Super Bowl champions as a player and a quarterback, then I can't argue with you because he has.
That's statistically true.
Right. So that's what, and then I would say that people were like, "Whoa, he's won," and I was like, "Correct, he has." Right. Like, I'm not going to argue that he's won that many Super Bowls because that's a fact. Right. And then I named, I think it's Charles Haley. Right. I said, is Charles Haley the greatest defensive player, right, of all time? Right. And people, I find probably most people don't even know who Charles Haley is. But the answer is, what does it matter because he's not the quarterback?
Well, the best part is by that metric, then Robert Horry is vastly superior to Michael Jordan. He has 7 titles to Jordan 6.
Wow. You know what? But you know what else? Speaking of that, because I brought this up in class.
You're saying that Tom Brady needs to pass Robert Horry before he's a real GOAT of GOATs.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing, right? When people talk about the GOAT of basketball, genuinely speaking, most people will say it's Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Most people.
I think so.
Right? And there are a substantial number of other people who will probably argue that it's LeBron James, right? You're not really getting, there's now, because of, the recent death of Kobe, I think there's more people who are like, hey, what about Kobe and everything Kobe did, right?
While we're talking about this, by the way, I want to include this on the screen while we're talking about it, because I feel that this individual will enjoy this conversation.
All right, I'll just give you a second.
Please continue.
There's a picture of Carlos at a
there's a reason why I'll bring this up. Please continue.
But my other point is, but it's like, okay, so it's like Michael Jordan, and if you ask me, like, I'm in the Jordan camp, right? But Bill Russell's won 11 NBA titles, right? He has more rings than he has fingers, and he's not considered like undisputably the GOAT of basketball.
Yeah. And usually the counter argument for Bill Russell, because I can tell you I've heard it, the counter argument for Bill Russell is era, because it is a different style of basketball.
Sure.
But the thing is, here's the thing. I think that's valid. If you wish to discount, if you want to say Bill Russell maybe was the best of his era, and then maybe the era is different, but then I can say, well, we're going to approach a point where Michael Jordan's era is far enough behind us where you can say Michael Jordan will thrive in this era to the same degree, but we can't say that definitively. We assume that's the case. We believe it could be the case. But then because of Michael Jordan's, tenacity, because of his, his excessive competitiveness. But I could argue that his excessive competitiveness in the current environment might prevent him from winning any championships, because then players wouldn't want to play with him or deal with him. They might not want to deal with his attitude. So it might actually be
all potentially true.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm not saying his talent wouldn't be as good. He might be such an irritant to some people that he might be a bad teammate for a modern team. He might actually be a detriment to a modern team as opposed to a plus. Whereas in his day, Bill Russell was seen as the consummate teammate who helped make people around him better.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but it's just funny, like, because the thing is, like, it's like, oh, well, the argument is valid if we're talking about football with championships, but it's not valid if we're talking about basketball. Now, granted, I know they're different sports and your roles and the impact the players have are different and whatnot, right? I get that. And I will obviously acknowledge that. But it's just interesting, right? And then people are just like, oh, you're just a hater. You're just a hater. And it's just like, okay, but you literally, only thing you're looking at, because nobody has ever made me an argument when I've said, "Oh, Brady's not the GOAT," or he's the faux GOAT, because that's how we like to refer to him on this program, right? No one ever argues with stats. The only thing they ever argue with is, well, he's won 7 Super Bowls, and now he's done it with 2 teams, right? And he did it at age 43, and it's like, okay, yes, all of those things are true. And if you want to argue he's the most, you can't argue he's the most accomplished, because he is. That's a fact.
I think though that if you try,
it's not an argument.
Yeah. So here's the thing: people need to understand when it comes to the trolling game. The trolling game, part of the fun is, but you have to be a great debater, and part of being a great debater is you have to be able to pick apart an argument, the counter argument. If somebody tried to come with stats, because he is among the all-time leaders in touchdowns and he is up there in yards and all that, but then you go, yeah, longevity. You play 5,000 years. I hope you put up good stats. Like, I hope you.
But then they'd be like, but how many other people have lasted that long, Carlos?
Well, in this era, a lot of people. Wait until Matthew Stafford is at 90,000 yards and he surpasses all of those because he's playing forever.
And his rookie card skyrockets that you thankfully bought before he was traded.
Correct, exactly. So it's one of those things. Like, you just like, I'm serious when I say this. You have to take. Here's what I'll say to you: if you want to take a sincere approach to this, rather than just the enjoyment that this man gets from this conversation, and also I brought up the picture for multiple reasons, but the first one is just look at his face. That's
a great
what I'm
picture.
thinking on the inside all the time. All the time. Just picture it. That's what it is. All the time.
If anyone's wondering, because you can't see it, it's a bottle of Alexander Keith's.
Well, it was a bottle of Alexander Keith's before the label froze off.
Fair enough.
Goddamn. Froze so cold. So cold.
One day we'll be back. Hopefully, Carlos, one day we'll be back there.
Oh, by the 40th anniversary of this picture, probably. So anyway, speaking of which, part of the reason I brought it up, in addition to, I just wanted to make sure people understood, saw the face, so they could understand. This is the face of trolling. All right, trivia time. How old is that picture?
I'm gonna go with. It's probably, I would say, like 8 years old.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire style? Is that your final answer?
Sure. Yes. Yes, it is my final answer.
That's your final answer.
Mm-hmm.
It was 10 years old last December.
Wow.
Hashtag, we're old.
Yes, we are.
Now, this one is not as good because it is a little bit trickier to see, but in the same vein, I want to have a little fun with this. All right. This is going to be a regular segment because I don't have that many pictures. I can't help you.
This is okay, but this is right. This is why the podcast is called Unnecessary Nonsense, because as we planned out this podcast and talked about what we were going to talk about, none of what we've talked about so far is actually what we said we were going to talk about.
Absolutely not. No. Who cares
not
about
even
that?
A single thing.
No. I have that conversation with you, Dave, as a courtesy. Then I do whatever the fuck I want.
Well, but I mean, we're both going down the path. Like,
all right. This one.
Dude.
Yes.
So this is Carlos, I think. I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, it is?
Okay, so you ready for this? Because I think first of all, would you be caught dead wearing camo pants now? Like, that's not a you thing anymore, is it?
No, but there's a very specific. I know exactly what this picture is from and the context behind it.
I'm pretty sure that's Robinson's house.
Yep.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
In Guelph.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was at some party that we went to at his house.
Yep.
With Gwillem.
Yep, and that party also explains why the camel pants are happening.
Was this the 80s? Oh, this was the 80s party where you came as a Latin dictator? No? Oh, dang. There was one party though that you came as a Latin dictator, wasn't there?
You're warm, but you're not quite there.
All right, help restore my memory, Carlos.
So this was the Halloween party where I came as a Latin freedom fighter. Which is a lazy way of doing it. You come with fatigues and a black shirt, you're good to go. And being Latin helps, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, that's true, right? You're like, hey, I'm Carlos. I'm Latin.
Correct. Yes,
therefore.
Yes. Now,
and was Carlos actually dressing up, or is this his everyday outfit? If you didn't know him at that time,
those are Roberto's cargo camel pants. I didn't own any.
Yeah, I know that, but the audience didn't until you said that.
Yeah. Okay, now very important. How old is this picture?
Okay.
Well, I gave you part of it. It happened in Halloween.
Okay, so we graduated in 2000. Can I give you the year?
the year would qualify. That'd be a starting
So
point.
we graduated in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wouldn't have been first year. So I'm going to go with it was 2004.
Okay. And based on your incredible math teacher math, how long ago was that?
That would have been if you count 2020 as it's 16 years ago, but we won't count 2021.
Yes. Hashtag world.
Yeah, dude.
2004. Classic. And that concludes this week's episode, this week's installment of Classic Carlos.
Nice. We should do the elevator picture at one point.
Oh, I've got that.
You can never lose that picture.
But not today. Not today.
So let me move on to the other things quickly. I don't know, both of which I thought were half decent, but now we're 15 minutes into this and haven't talked about anything we said we're going to talk about. I watched most of, not all of, but most of an AEW Wednesday night broadcast, and I approve. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it's a good show.
Lots of tag. Pro wrestling without an audience is not the same, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I think they do a pretty good job. And the last match, I can't remember whoever was it. Kenny Omega was one of the people who was in it.
Yeah, the thing is, though, they do have an audience. They've
but
got
it's
them socially distanced. They're off in the back.
Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah, you have to pay attention because they will put the camera out. There's the people around the ring. But if they look back, like in the because they do it in Bailey's Place in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
That's owned by the Khan family. That's in the Jacksonville facility. What happens is they've got like the grandstands, and they can house some people in the grandstands.
Okay.
Usually a couple of hundred at this point. Not like a ton. The idea is to have distancing, but they will allow some people there with masks. They have to, I think, do temperature checks, and then they have to make sure to keep the social distancing and keep the masks on. That's part of the deal.
Yeah.
But a handful of people can come.
But yeah, I like the last match was like it was a tag team match for the night, and it was I can't remember who the four. It was like some new Japanese wrestler making his AEW debut, and Kenny Omega versus these other two guys. And it was
Okada.
I mean, I thought it started with an H, but I can't remember. But it was interesting. It was good. It was a good match too.
Yeah.
I mean, it was interesting. Like I felt like some of the stuff they could have hid better in terms of like the fact there was one part where they were like fighting on these tables in like the kitchen, right? And you could obviously see the ref was like holding the table and trying to keep the tables from like rolling away so they could have a better,
So this wasn't this week. It was like last week.
It would have been. So yeah, it would have been 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so Kenta.
But yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I was like, this is a solid product, and to be truthful, this is better than what WWE is putting out right now.
Oh yeah, and now in fairness, that's a low bar, but still, AEW I think puts on what they've got is they've got a touch of the old school in the sense that it's a wrestling show. They understand it's a wrestling show, but there's these people. They're fighting each other. Some of them have some history because Kenny Omega and Kenta have some history. They're both in a faction called Bullet Club in Japan. And Kenny Omega had an extensive history in Japan.
Yeah.
So it's like, so you can play off of that. And this company kind of exists to, make reference to other organizations. So a wrestler's history doesn't get whitewashed just because it doesn't fit what they're doing right now. If they've had feuds in the past, it's still acknowledged to a certain degree. You might not dwell on it, but you'll at least like, oh, well, these guys competed for years. This is not the first time they're seeing each other. They've competed around the world, this, that, or the other thing. Mm-hmm. And right now, part of the reason that the Kenta thing was a big deal is that he wrestles for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And AEW has an open door policy now where they've been able to make some deals where they're doing an angle with Kenny Omega where Kenny Omega, through Kenny Omega, is the vessel through which they're having New Japan Pro Wrestlers come in. Jon Moxley currently is the New Japan Pro Wrestling United States champion. So they can make those connections because there is some linkages between the two companies. They were able to come up with a working agreement. They say, we'll promote you. We'll promote your product. And in return, can we use some of your wrestlers? Can we, make this work in a way that's agreeable to both of us? And they finally said, yeah, fine, let's do it. Impact Wrestling, they've gone in. Kenny Omega has been wrestling on Impact Wrestling. So they've gone over there because his old buddy Don Callis is basically acting as his manager. Well, Don Callis is also executive vice president at Impact Wrestling. So they have that relationship where all of a sudden you've opened up a second roster of people. While their TV is much smaller, they can get exposure. So potentially some of those wrestlers may pop up on AEW. You create an aura of who might show up where. When might they show up? You don't know. And that's the point. You're restoring some of the old unpredictability. You don't know if somebody might randomly show up on the show that doesn't work for this company, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But the companies have a working relationship. And then one other piece is they've also had a working relationship with NWA, which has been which is a smaller organization that basically disappeared, but it's still sort of around. It hangs in there. And that's owned by Billy Corgan. So they have a relationship with that. And part of the ongoing thing with Impact is because their relationship with Impact is so strong, Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone have appeared on Impact Wrestling in commercials where they've, quote unquote, bought ad time. But slowly, Tony Khan is morphing into a bad guy on Impact. It's hysterical. Like, he's slowly building a character where Tony Khan started off being like, Tony Khan was just like this geeky guy. But I think he's slowly losing his mind, and he's like becoming like a Vegas drunk. That's the way I would describe it. I describe it as like a dude who wears like these really bright shirts, and he's like, I'm rich. I can do what I want. And he's just there he was literally there with Tony Schiavone, and they were wearing these ridiculous like red glasses. And he's like, I want to thank him because Impact Wrestling, quote unquote, invaded AEW. And Tony Khan started off so straight laced. He was incensed that how dare you invade AEW and blah, blah. And now, like weeks in, he's like, I'm so glad you guys you invaded. You've opened the forbidden door. And I realize the forbidden door is me. Like, he's slowly morphing into like Charlie Sheen. Eventually he's going to start talking about Tiger Blood or something.
I like it.
It's actually been very funny. I've actually been getting a kick out of it. I will send you a clip of the commercial.
Please do.
Because the commercial's a promo.
Please do.
And I'm like, this is great. So he's promoting his own product on the show. So it is a commercial. It is a commercial. But it's also like cutting a promo on Impact Wrestling where he's like, it's like you never know who's going to show up. Maybe some of the folks from AEW will show up on Impact and blah, blah, blah. So they've got like an inter-promotional feud going.
I like it.
It's good for the business, though, to have that, because a lot of these companies is like, some of them can't run shows. So he's actually built a bridge to a lot of these companies by saying, well, if you're willing, I can have some of your performers come on and I can have them wrestle and we'll promote them. The NWA Women's Champion has been wrestling on AEW for months. So it's like, and the current NWA Women's Champion is actually contracted to AEW. So they've had inter-promotional matches where the title has changed hands.
That's all right. Cool.
So it's like, so it's another way of doing business. It's just another way of doing business.
Do you feel like long term this is going to be any kind of competition for the WWE, or is WWE just going to like poach the talent because they can pay them more?
Well, the thing is, WWE's been trying, because you have to understand that NXT runs on Wednesday. And they've run NXT to directly compete with AEW. They said they're not, but they are.
Of course they are.
At the same time. That's what they've been doing. But NXT has been consistently losing in the ratings. Because at first, WWE was like, well, we'll send our B product. We'll send our minor league product. But then over time, they started losing the ratings. And Vince started kind of getting embarrassed. And he goes, okay. So he would send main roster people to NXT to wrestle matches and to do things. It's like, well, if you don't think they're a threat, why are you sending your quote unquote better wrestlers? Now, the thing is, as a result, he slowly turned NXT into just another WWE show, which has actually hurt the show and made it objectively worse. So it's they basically are competing right now. And AEW is competition to a certain degree because in their niche, they're doing well. And they're building all these relationships. And the short answer to your question that you're asking is this. They're trying to poach talent now, but some talent are making the decision to turn them down because they'd rather have a little bit more creative control and actually be able to do what they want to do. AEW is allowing some of them to do that, where they're like, if the money's comparable and you're actually allowed to do creatively what you'd like to do, or at least something interesting for you creatively, or you can go to WWE and basically just sit in catering and do nothing. Which would you rather do?
Yeah, well, exactly. It's a
depends
no-brainer
on the person.
For most people, but yeah.
Yeah, because WWE continues to take things away, and at this point, there's social media policies in effect. So anybody who has got a Twitch or one of those social medias, WWE will like take the money out of it and give them like a cut for stuff they built on their own. And from what I understand, I got to look into it more. I think they may be trying to go after Instagram next because some of them have some sponsorship deals with Instagram brands and stuff.
Okay.
So they may be trying to take a cut out of that pie because WWE needs more money.
Yeah, could.
They need more money, always.
Yeah.
Forever.
But that's okay. I think I'm on board with the AEW train now, Carlos.
There you go. So yes. So that beautiful second segue, we'll call that the wrestling nonsense section of the show.
And then lastly, the other thing is I watched a program. So I don't know if you probably haven't because I know you don't watch a ton of Netflix. No. But there's a new show. Well, I don't know how new it is now. It's called The Vanish. It's called like Crime Story, or there's some like dumb generic title, but then it's like the after part is really the actual. The subtitle is actually really the title. It's called The Vanishing of the Cecil Hotel.
Okay.
And it's a case. It's about a case of a Canadian university student who goes missing while staying at a hotel in downtown Los Angeles, which is like a super sketchy area of downtown Los Angeles, nonetheless, right? And it's like, so if you watch the preview of the show, mm-hmm. right, on Netflix, which is like one of those things that just pretty much airs every time an episode of anything ends now, it sets it up like it's a ghost story. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, we don't know what happened to her, but it looks like there's footage of her in the elevator, and it looks like, she's talking to somebody, but maybe she's trying to conjure a spirit. Like that's what they're going for in the preview. Okay. So I'm like, okay, like maybe you got a haunted hotel, some kind of sketchiness, like a sordid history, maybe. Okay, I gotta watch this. It's 4 episodes. Each is just under an hour long. Mm-hmm. So first of all, the runtime is way too long. And secondly, there's so much of the show devoted to like baseless conspiracy theories. And internet sleuths that are trying to like discover what happened to her, where really it's like it's actually a really simple answer. And I'm watching this and I'm like thinking like her behavior on the elevator. I mean, I'm not like, because I'd heard some kind of thing because I'm like, it really doesn't look like part of it looks like maybe she's having some kind of psychotic episode, right? Okay. Well, it turns out that she was mentally ill. She had bipolar. She'd stopped taking her meds, and the coroner, but they determined that that's what led to her death, that she ended up climbing in the water tank on the top of the hotel and drowning. Right. And realistically, like the whole thing, like, is it an interesting story? Yeah. But literally from maybe like half an hour into it and they tell you what happened at the beginning of the second episode. So you know how it ends at the beginning of the second episode, except for one key detail, which they leave out until the final episode. And it's like, I'm watching so much of this. It's kind of a waste of time. And I'm like, this is like documentary filmmaking at its worst, because literally they're just giving breath to all these conspiracy theories and these people who are like, part-time detectives on the internet. And at the end of it, they're like, yeah, we were wrong. And we just kind of got down this garden path, because you're not asking any freaking questions about the facts. Like all of a sudden these people are blaming this like heavy metal, like death metal singer for murdering this person. Because he stayed at the hotel, right? And he posted a video about it, and then he had like a video about somebody drowning, like a song, right? And they're like, oh, clearly he did it because of, right? And it's like, anyone who bothered to look could see like his video was from a year before this person actually stayed in the hotel, like the person who died. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, he did it because like there's 2 coincidences here. But if you actually look at it, there's like 0 coincidence, because it's just like, or it's like, oh, this hotel has all this shady shit that's gone on in it. And it's like, well, it's an old hotel. Like any really old building has probably had some sketchy stuff happen at it. It's also in a sketchy area of town that's pretty much been a sketchy area of LA always. It's like, realistically, like the way you set this up, the payoff for the setup is like basically non-existent. And I'm like, this is a disservice to documentary filmmaking, because I love my documentaries, Carlos, and I did not like this one at all.
You don't say.
So for those of you who are thinking about, hey, this looks kind of cool, don't waste your time. Like literally, watch the first episode if you feel like it, and then once they tell you, how she died, there really is nothing else to go for. It's just like, now let's go down this like garden path of conspiracy theories because we can, even though we're going to tell you in the last 10 minutes of the show that everything we've been telling you for the last 2 episodes is complete BS. And here's what happened.
So you've described streaming television in a nutshell. The idea is to get you to keep watching. Yes.
Yeah. No, totally. It's just like, because Netflix has put out like their own, because this is their own stuff, right? And some of the stuff they put out, obviously, there's some quality programming at Netflix. One of the documentaries they did is called, I don't know if you knew about this, it's called The Battered Bastards of Baseball. And it's about the minor league team, like an independent minor league team that Kurt Russell's dad owned.
Okay.
So it's actually like with the Portland something or others. I can't remember the name of the team.
Yes.
But like that kind of stuff, that was interesting. But it, was maybe 1 hour and a half, hour and 40-minute documentary where it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, you want to make it episodic, fine. But, why does it have to be so much longer than it needs to be? And then take you down all these like random, you know what I mean? It's just like, you know what? Because like this is literally the thing that's like where they go through this. You know what? Carlos has a Stanley Cup banner behind him, and it says Stanley. And you know what? There was somebody in the same town as Carlos that was murdered named Stanley. And, Carlos Banner is black. Therefore, he's probably the murderer. Like, that's literally what these people are going off
allegedly. Allegedly, Dave. Allegedly.
No, but I, you know what I mean? Like, that's what these people, that's enough.
Stanley had it coming, Dave. Stanley had it coming. No one likes Stanley.
But that's literally where, it's like, there's one detail that maybe is kind of, could be a little fishy.
I get it.
Right? And
that's why I put this right here.
But I agree, Carlos. Stanley did have it coming.
He did have it coming, allegedly.
Allegedly, of course.
Yeah, for legal reasons. It's anecdotal. There is no Stanley.
All right, Carlos. How's your week, man?
We're still doing that?
We've had half an hour of stuff. I don't know if you want to add anything, or we can go into our NFL QB carousel if you want.
I think we're going to QB carousel. Here. Hold on, I got it. Woo!
The only thing that matters is Super Bowl novelty props. That's pretty much true, too.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not going there. I just like that we ended up down there. The AEW thing I didn't mind. Then all of a sudden we got into Netflix documentaries. I was like, I could stop this, but why? I think. Wait.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, all right. QB carousel. So Matthew Stafford has a new home.
Correct. Jared Goff has a new home.
Yeah. So they swap teams, and then now you've got Carson Wentz is in the cult. That's kind of interesting. So let's talk about the Carson Wentz thing.
All right.
That is interesting because it's rare that a guy who's technically in his prime, who got an extension where the Eagles basically have
a mega dollar extension too.
They have to eat a ton of dead cap money.
It's like 33.8 million.
Yeah,
I think something like that.
It's a lot of money.
They said it was something like 13% of their projected cap.
Yeah. So
it's going to be
Carson
damaging.
Wentz. Like, there's no way it's not damaging to Philadelphia. And they don't even know if Jalen Hurts is going to be the guy. It's not like it's not a matter. Oh, well, now Jalen Hurts' team. Well, maybe it is.
Yeah. We'll see. They could draft somebody. Again, they could draft another quarterback. I mean, Jalen Hurts didn't look bad. He looked, serviceable, but not enough to really know if he's the answer or not.
But think about this. You got rid of the head coach because he and Carson Wentz were now irreconcilable differences. And then you got rid of the quarterback. That's the situation in Philadelphia.
You know what I mean? Like, literally every time we talk about Philadelphia, because there's been a lot that's happened in Philadelphia this year. Like, if you go back to drafting Hurts in the second round, right, and then carry the narrative all the way through the season, I want to know what that angry Philly, I'm not going to go on a rant, but now I am going on a rant, dude, thinks about. Like, I want to see the progression of the season through his eyes.
Well, now I definitely want to see it because now that this deal has been done. I just want to state for the record, I wanted to make sure I looked it up so I had it right. They won the Super Bowl basically 3 years ago. 3 years ago. 3.
Yes.
It was in the HT era, allegedly. This is what I hear.
And but Carson Wentz was not the quarterback in that game.
No, I understand. I totally get that. What I'm trying to get at is 3 years ago. Only in Philadelphia could you find a way to win a Super Bowl and somehow be a disaster within 3 years. What happened? What did you do?
I don't know. I feel like, New Orleans probably could have done that too. But
well, New Orleans is like a disaster of a franchise. Like they're one of the teams that's been out there for years. It's like, and they're still like, one day we're gonna win our first Super Bowl. Someday it'll come for us.
Oh, Carlos.
And but not today. Not today.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the biggest thing that looked at me when I saw this is I'm like, okay, if you're gonna trade Carson Wentz, like fine. Like I got no issue with Phil based on the way he played this year and the way he handled getting benched.
I think that second point is the big thing that just made it like, I don't think we can roll with this.
Which is fine. But then why get rid of Doug Peterson? That's what I don't understand.
That was what I was saying. Is like, okay, so you said to yourself you have to choose one. But you fire the head coach first. Like indicating that you're picking the quarterback, and then you get rid of the quarterback.
Yeah, it strikes me as very odd that they would do that, right? Because Super Bowl winning coach usually, you've got some cred for that.
In fairness, I think he screwed this up too. I think he botched a lot of things. But it's like if you're gonna basically you've just cleaned house, and you technically haven't officially. If you're gonna hand the keys to Jalen Hurts and say this is what we're gonna try this, we're going full Jalen Hurts, we're giving it a go. Well then, odd. But that's at least one thing. That's, I guess, you're trying something.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't what I've heard. Like it's not a definitive message that has come out of Philadelphia. Like, oh yeah, this is Jalen Hurts' team now. It's like,
no.
Well, maybe.
Have they've hired a new coach? Yes, no. Like, I just want to look it up for a second. But you know what I mean? Because I'm just wondering.
Nick Sirianni.
Like, okay, so is part of like their hiring of Sirianni, like, and he's basically like, look, I don't want any part of Carson. You know what I mean? In his interview, like, did everyone in the interview was like, you got to get rid of Carson Wentz? And they're like, damn, we should have kept Doug Peterson, but we can't do that now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But it's just weird.
It just feels like a series of knee-jerk moves. The reason why I wanted to start off the reason why I wanted to start off the conversation, like I said, legitimately, the QB carousel this year fascinates me because there's so many, like, even the stuff that's already. Think about this, okay? Let me break this down in the simplest possible terms for everyone. The the Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff thing is, Matthew Stafford, whatever you want to say about him, he's been a serviceable NFL quarterback for over a decade.
Absolutely.
Like he's been a solid NFL quarterback for a decade. Statistically, He's a pretty good quarterback. Can he succeed? Who knows? He played for the Detroit Lions organization.
But like, I also believe like that's one of those things, like him going to that Rams team, I think we're going to know. I mean, obviously you got to get time to know the system and whatnot, but I feel this is going to be the test. Like you're going to really find out how good of a quarterback he actually is because you're giving him basically an elite defense.
Yeah.
You're giving him some solid, I wouldn't say an elite offense, but you've got solid offensive weapons that can do damage, especially with the quarterback who's, put up the stats that he's put up. Right. I mean, he did have Calvin Johnson for a while, who's a Hall of Famer now.
But even after Calvin Johnson left, his numbers were still respectable. Like, and that's indicative that he theoretically can play the position.
Like if I'm a Rams fan, like that trade in itself, I'm ecstatic about that.
Yeah. You feel like you got an upgraded quarterback. Like you feel like you got a substantial upgraded quarterback, at least somebody who has some experience that can hold the line. Hold the position, and maybe you can do something with that.
And if I'm in Detroit, if I'm a fan of Detroit, I'm like, well, it's Detroit.
Yeah.
What do you expect?
But that's my point, is that he's played his entire career up until this point in Detroit, where there was no hope ever. So now he's in LA, who was in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Again, not that long ago. Now Jared Goff was a Super Bowl participant quarterback. He didn't play well. But he got to the Super Bowl with the LA Rams, and they gave up on him as well. So you got Jared Goff out. They gave up on him. Carson Wentz out in Philadelphia. Deshaun Watson wants out. Dwayne Haskins was basically thrown out, because of his personal issues. But
you're going to have a new quarterback in New Orleans. That's another. I mean, there may be coming from within the system already. But it's still another team where Drew Brees still hasn't officially retired, but, or right? You're gonna have a new quarterback in New Orleans. There's another team.
Yeah,
It's gonna have a new
they
one.
can't throw him into the bayou or something with ankle weights or something just to make sure you get rid of him.
It's possible, I guess.
He
You
wasn't
never
very
know.
good. You might need to do it soon because I think NCIS New Orleans is ending soon. I think.
Is it? Don't tell me that, Carlos. Because it's that is a good. I watch that show on a regular basis, and it's also the only show that I've watched. Now, granted, I don't watch a ton of TV, but it's the only show I've watched where it's actually like reflecting real life, where they wear masks and stuff.
Here we go.
But and there's also talk about potentially in Carolina moving on from Teddy Bridgewater as well. That's another
NCIS
team.
New Orleans canceled, ending after season 7. Sorry, dude.
Dude.
No one wants to be in New Orleans. No one. Not even fictional New Orleans.
And I have walked by and taken pictures of the spot where the NCIS building, is in the show. It's a parking lot.
But that's why I'm saying, like, if you're going to allegedly take care of the Drew Brees problem, allegedly, wink, and incorporate it into an NCIS plot, you're running out of time.
Yeah, this is fair. But I mean, and like I said, Teddy Bridgewater too, potentially there's been talk about them. We don't really know what's going to happen in Chicago, right? Like, is Trubisky coming back? Like, there's a lot of, at the very least, quarterback. I mean, we've said quarterback carousel for sure, but at the very least, what's the word?
I would say
uncertainty. Quarterback uncertainty is the word I was looking for. Right?
Yeah. I would say, and so I'm just looking at here. I want to make sure I get this. It could be traded. I just want to see because right now there's a lot. It's actually been kind of nuts because it's been getting to the point. Russell Wilson has had his issues right now. That's one thing he was talking. Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere, but I'm saying like, wow, like.
But he has voice of displeasure.
Yes, for sure. He's had his issues. The future of. Again, I don't think he's going anywhere, but the future of Aaron Rodgers has been put into question because he'll say some stuff. Sam Darnold theoretically needs to go somewhere. Tua might not be in Miami long term. Garoppolo might be on the move. To your point, Teddy Bridgewater. Drew Lock is probably going somewhere. Denver needs a quarterback. Marcus Mariota may move somewhere. Cam Newton, theoretically, if he still wants to play. Dak Prescott doesn't want to be in Dallas. They might franchise tag him. How many quarterbacks have I just named?
You're pretty much half the league.
Like, it's a lot. Like, it's really a lot.
Did you mention Ben Roethlisberger? That's another one. Potentially.
So here's the thing. I'm mean to Drew Brees because it's fun, but maybe Ben Roethlisberger is the one that people in Pittsburgh need to make sure is found in the bayou. You can feed him to a crocodile or something.
I mean, they have 3 rivers in Pittsburgh. They could probably do something there too.
Well, it's true, but I want to give NCAA New Orleans a big hurrah for their series finale.
Fair enough.
Like, give them something. Give them something.
Every NFL quarterback they need to get rid of suddenly turns up in the show.
Give them something. I'm trying to help.
I appreciate it, Carlos. Yeah, I mean that. You know what I mean? There's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of. I mean, there's very few teams that if I'm that team or a fan of that team, I feel really good going into next season.
And here are the free
agents. And one of those teams, hold on, one of those teams is Buffalo. Like, how does that sound, right?
We're in an odd world right now. We live in a very strange world. So, as in addition to those, so here are some of the other free agent quarterbacks. Again, we don't know where they might end up, but these are other free agent quarterbacks. Dak Prescott tentatively, because theoretically he's a free agent, pending the franchise tag, which Dallas could still do. They still have their.
I don't think he's going anywhere. Let's put it that way, one way or the other.
I would be very surprised if they didn't exercise the franchise tag. I don't think the long-term extension is coming, but I would be very surprised if they didn't exercise the franchise tag for one more year. Jameis, of course. Fitzpatrick. Jacoby Brissett. Mitchell Trubisky, you already mentioned. Andy Dalton is technically a free agent. And Tyrod Taylor.
Poor Tyrod Taylor, man.
All of these players have been NFL starters over the last several years. Who may want them, who may not want them, but they've all been NFL starters.
I mean, it's possible, right? It is possible, depending on the way things go, that one could end up starting or more.
And that's not even taking into account that you'd expect in the draft, Trevor Lawrence gets picked, and he would theoretically. So, like, that's what creates a lot of this additional instability because Well, if Trevor Lawrence is picked up by somebody, then, do you put him in right away? Do you leave somebody in there as a placeholder?
Gardner Minshew.
It could be, but it could be. And then
It
that
could be.
means in short order, Gardner Minshew could be on the move.
True.
So
There's a lot of jigsaw pieces in this puzzle, Carlos.
There are. That's why I thought like the QB thing I thought was interesting. Like as a discussion piece. I wanna take some more time to percolate on this. Let's reconvene on this thought because this quarterback carousel isn't going away.
No.
I think there's still.
And I'm not sure that it's going to be any clearer the next time you know what I mean? Like this is something that
but I wanted to lay the
take a while too.
No, but I wanted to lay the groundwork on this is I think this is a little bit of this is a story that I think it has some legs that we can discuss as more pieces fall into place.
For sure.
For now though, at least we're off to an interesting start and a lot of intriguing possibilities are out there on the board. And I would love to see if somebody just absolutely goes nuts and does something crazy. Be kind of fun.
Which is also possible.
Yep. You never know. I've heard a lot of things that could happen. A lot of things that could be done.
For sure. And it'd be interesting to see too, right? Because of the, the cap most likely, I mean, they haven't announced it yet, but it's pretty much guaranteed that it's going to be lower than it was last year. Mm-hmm. Right. And obviously several teams that are already above the cap and what they can do with the cap space too may impact what happens with quarterbacks as well.
That's exactly it. So that's just something to bear in mind. Just, kind of the way we want to do it. So I think from there, we'll come back to the QB situation a little bit later. As far as hockey's concerned, I don't want to talk about it for various reasons. The Dallas Stars don't actually play hockey anymore. Now they're frozen in Texas. They can't do that. It's like, don't they play on ice? Not that much ice. Not ice on the outside. Not on the outside.
Yeah.
It's been something.
Let's hope they get that sorted and soon for all those people who don't have water.
Yes, indeed. But it's been one thing after another with Dallas and the Stars and Texas in general right now, obviously. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, why don't we just give up?
It's okay, Carlos. You will always have your Stanley Cup championship banner that you can hang behind you whenever.
Yes.
Until Internet Sleuth falsely frame you for murder.
Well, falsely. Allegedly. Stanley had it coming. Anywho. So now, I think you did want to, apparently, and I can totally tell by the warm and balmy weather outside, we're apparently approaching the Major League Baseball season. And I think you wanted to talk about a couple of the divisions. I'll be honest with you, I'm not even going to do any pretenses of even attempting to do any research for it. I'm merely going to go on gut reaction, which mostly is going to be me being truly my proper and full final form.
This is fair.
Super salty. I am going to be salty about everything.
Do you at least believe that we're going to get through a full season? Because you didn't last year, and the dude proved you wrong.
Did we get through a full season?
Well, we got through a season. I didn't say full season. We did get through a season.
Okay, sure, great.
Yeah. So as is now believe it or not, this is the third year in a row we've done this. 3 years, Carlos, of MLB season previews.
There you go.
So we're going to start this week and do one a week up till Major League Baseball season starts. So this week is the NL West. So we go through the divisions, start at the NL, go to the AL, back to the NL, and so forth till we finish up with the AL East.
Yep. And that's going to be Dave's job to keep track of because I am I am a baseball casual, a Major League Baseball casual. They got teams in the NL West now? When did that expansion happen?
Basically, I'm going to start with the Rockies. Because
before you do that, can I quickly go over my NL West preview?
Sure, Carlos.
It's gonna be fabulous. You're gonna love it.
All right.
It's gonna be great.
Let's do it.
Take some notes because you should teach your students this way.
Let's hear it.
All right. So here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna go through the NL West teams, and here's how it's gonna play out. Here we go. So NL West, Rockies. No one gives a fuck. They traded Nolan Arenado. They're fucked. San Francisco Giants.
That was exactly what I was going to say with the Rockies, only with less colorful language.
Yeah, but no, I'm taking care of it. Allow me to assist. I'm here to assist.
All right.
San Francisco Giants, see the Colorado Rockies minus the Nolan Arenado. Arizona Diamondbacks, see the Colorado Rockies minus Nolan Arenado, and minus and with more snakes. With more snakes, they got that going for them.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah. So now we'll move on to the San Diego Padres. They've traded for everyone, including Carson Wentz, including Sam Darnold, including why? Because we got everybody else. It's like Dallas is gonna trade Dak to us. Why? Because we're taking everybody in San
There's
Diego.
reasons. Hey, man, it's the return of the two-sport athlete, Carlos. Because enough people have heard this crap about Tom Brady being the greatest athlete of all time. Not quarterback, not NFL player, the greatest athlete of all time, and are like, that is the biggest load of BS I've ever heard. Therefore, two-sport athletes are making a comeback.
But what you don't seem to understand is that because the San Diego Padres are getting everyone in creation, now it is time for me to. It is my unfortunate duty to inform you that the number one pitcher for the San Diego Padres is Tom Brady, because Tom Brady now wants to win the World Series in addition to winning the Super Bowl.
Good news is they're not going to. So
yeah, so San Diego Padres have loaded up on a ton of talent, which
correct
in theory should make them a contender.
May I list some of these people for you, Carlos?
List the people.
All right. So in no particular order, they have Mark Melancon, who is a relief pitcher, but has been a former closer. So he's pretty good there. They got Yu Darvish in a trade with Chicago. They signed Blake Snell from the Tampa Bay Rays. They got Ha-Seong Kim from Korea is a free agent. They got Joe Musgrove, who according to MLB.com is going to be the best number 4 starter in all of baseball. And utility man Jurickson Profar. I just like the name, and he is, someone who's been around a long time, so it's kind of known. And they signed Tatis Jr. to a 14-year extension. And there's like 3 other random guys you've never heard of. They got 2, but nobody cares about those guys.
Yeah, the Tatis Jr. thing we'll get to in a minute. I want to talk about that separately, but we'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, they did all that, and Tom Brady. So they got all that going for them. And lastly, as part of my personal NL preview, NL West preview, the Dodgers won the World Series last year. They've still got a lot of budget, a lot of team. They should be in the contention in the hunt. And basically, there's only 2 teams in this division that matter. That is the NL West preview.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, if you wanted to just say there's only 2 teams in this division that matter and just leave it at that, that is the division preview. Because one of these teams, barring some catastrophic injury that strikes the whole team, which is possible with COVID. Yeah. I mean, I don't wish it on either team.
But that's why the San Diego Padres have taken care of this by getting everyone.
Well,
they got Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, Carson Wentz.
But it is possible that everyone could get COVID too, Carlos. So,
but you put them all in a bubble.
Yeah, that worked really well for the World Series. Just saying.
San Diego has their own bubble.
Look, Rob Manfred is going to screw it up somehow. Even though he's not the general manager of the Dodgers or the Padres, he'll find a way. So the Dodgers themselves. So
your faith, Dave, is correctly placed. Not misplaced, correctly placed.
So basically, in addition to what Carlos has already told you, where I'm not going to add anything to the Rockies. The Giants, filled their needs with the scrap heap. Basically, they got some half decent guys, right? For pitching, they got Kevin Gausman, Alex Wood. Anthony Discaflani, but like none of those guys are like names you're like, whoa, they didn't make any splashes. So are they going to be any better than they were last year? Probably not in any significant way. Same thing with the D-backs, right? Their biggest offseason signing so far has been Joakim Soria to a 1-year deal.
I'll be back in a second.
All right. Can I keep talking?
No, keep going through the list. I already gave my synopsis.
So as far as
2 teams that matter, 2 teams that matter. The other ones are fucked. I just wanted to make sure I covered that. My contribution to this division preview.
All right.
Be right back.
So then the other team we're talking about then is the Dodgers, right? And the Dodgers, what they've done is realistically, they've made one big acquisition, right? And that big acquisition they made is Trevor Bauer. Right, which is causing a lot of obviously social media drama right now, based on the fact that he's having a Twitter feud with Noah Syndergaard of the Mets, because he was really close to signing with the Mets, and it seemed like the deal was done, and that's what we were expecting, and the Mets were expecting it, and then it was announced he was signing with the Dodgers, and then he's like, "But don't worry, I'm going to donate a bunch of money to charity in New York." So that happened, and it's causing a little bit of bad blood, but that's the big thing with the Dodgers. The other thing in terms of their starting pitching is David Price. This isn't a new acquisition because David Price was on the team last year, but he opted out because of COVID. So basically, you've got arguably the best starting rotation in baseball with not particular order, but probably Clayton. Well, maybe I guess in particular order, but Clayton Kershaw probably being number 1 still. Walker Buehler being number 2, right? Or maybe Trevor Bauer. I don't know. Probably Trevor Bauer is going to be number 3. Then you're probably going to have Julio Urias as number 4, and then David Price is your number 5 starter. So, if David Price is your number 5 starter, you're probably in a pretty good position. All right. And then they have a couple of guys last year in Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin who pitched really well, but they're probably going to be in the bullpen. The Dodgers' biggest loss was Kike Hernandez, which, he's a really good bench guy and a team guy and a spark plug for the team. But, in terms of, major hole, no. They brought Justin Turner back in free agency for third base. And, the other are sort of the bullpen, right? And bullpens are probably the most interchangeable position in baseball. So they lost some guys. They traded for some guys. Some guys left, some guys came in. There's no like major names. The big guys that we thought of in terms of Kenley Jansen, in terms of Bruce Gratterall, in terms of that other guy that I can't think of his name right now. But he's a right-handed pitcher.
Good to know.
But you're right. But their bullpen, like in terms of like the key bullpen guys, are there. So the team should be as good as it was last year, if not a little better. So the question is, are they going to be better than the Padres? And I really don't know. They stack up well. They're going to play each other a bunch of times. We'll see what happens, right? One of these two teams is going to win the division. Probably what's going to happen is one of them is going to win the division. The other one's going to get the wild card, and we'll see what happens in the playoffs.
So you're saying if that comes to pass, then effectively my season preview pretty much summed it up perfectly.
Correct. It's basically we're saying the same thing. Only one of us has a little more detail in it. But really, so if I had to go pick, if you made me bet on it right now, I wrote down Dodgers, Padres, D-backs, Giants, Rockies in that order. But I could easily see it. Basically, I see the Rockies at the bottom, the D-backs and Giants at 4 and 5, or 3 and 4 in no particular order, and the Dodgers and Padres at 1 and 2, and that could change depending on it, right? I think based on where people are and the moves, the Padres did a lot, but I still think, talent for talent on paper, the Dodgers are a better team. So I'll pip them to win the division, but not by a ton.
Exciting.
And there you go.
Yeah.
And out West, people.
Yeah.
Tune in next week for our AL West preview, where Carlos will give you more of the same, but with Mike Trout hate.
Oh yeah. No. I am. It's going to be basically 45 minutes of Mike Trout hate, and then like, there's more teams in the division? Who cares? Not important. Okay, so real quick, I did want to touch on the Tatis thing because it was funny to me. You realize he's played less than a full season, right?
Like total?
Yeah.
No, I did not realize that.
I will. I'll give you. So just for the edification of all of you. So that's one reason why I said like this is all well and good. This is all like this is a beautiful precursor to the main event. The main event is me explaining why the Fernando Tatis thing is like. Why? Nothing wrong with Fernando Tatis, just so we're clear. But at this moment in time, ladies and gentlemen, for your edification, if I may, this is the accomplishments of Fernando Tatis right now. Not in a season. This is Fernando Tatis's career, if we may. He has played 143 games in Major League Baseball. He has 111 runs, very impressive. 168 hits, quite good. 24 doubles, 8 triples, 39 home runs, 98 RBIs, real good. What is that? 27 stolen bases, solid. A 301 batting average. He was 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting and 4th in MVP voting with a Silver Slugger. That is his entire career.
Carlos, but you're forgetting, what is his WAR? I don't actually care, just I don't, but
I may as
people
well.
There are people out there who don't care about anything you just said because his WAR matters more than anything else.
7, which is apparently good.
So there you go.
For that,
I feel a 7 WAR is enough for a 14-year extension, don't you?
He hasn't even played the equivalent of a full Major League season. I'm like, what's the hurry? Like, you're going to pay the guy, in the 143 games I just gave you, 39 home runs, 98 RBIs, that's good. Like, that's actually quite good. It is. A 301 batting average, good. He even steals bases, which Mike Trout doesn't do. Like, good on all the above. But I'm sitting there like, and he's a shortstop, so power at the shortstop position like that, that's nice. That's real nice for a middle infielder. You like that. But I'm like, and he's 22 years old, so that's awesome. That's great. Why do you need to give him a 14-year extension right this second?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really. I mean, he's still under contract next year, right? Anyway,
He's probably still under contract for
you
years.
know, like where is he going to go? Because well, you're under contract one, and you don't have that. Well, I want to be a winner, so I got to leave because you know the roster the way it is, and with even the people who are injured who hopefully will come back, you know, they're going to be in contention for several years if they keep the team together.
Yeah, so he would have been a free agent at the earliest in 2025.
Yeah, like it does strike me as strange, right?
It just seems unnecessarily aggressive. It's like you could have let this season right out and just let it happen, but it just like I said, I'm not knocking him because he could very well be that player that they're hoping he will be, and they're locking him up long term. And his per annum salary is not that onerous if you really do the math per year. It's not that bad. I think it's like 24 million per year on average, something like that.
Which in today's MLB salaries is
It's
not
not terrible.
ridiculous.
That's not offensive. But it's a 14-year commitment. Like you know that's guaranteed in Major League Baseball, right? Like it's
Yeah.
guaranteed money.
No, I feel like the thing with this deal is one, it didn't have to get done. Two, if it works out, okay, they look like geniuses.
Yeah.
But there's way more of a chance of it not working out for whatever reason than for it working out.
Correct.
Right?
So,
and as you to your point, if the earliest he can hit free agency is 2025, I can't see why, you know, him playing maybe let's say two more years.
Yeah.
Or like take it to 2023, two more, right? That, you know, he's still going to be on contract and you can't get some kind of mega extension done at that point.
Well, that's basically my point. I don't understand why you couldn't have just come up with something for the next couple of years and then done maybe a 12-year extension in 2023.
Exactly.
That'd still be a mega deal. 12-year extension would be huge. You could definitely still do a mega deal, and maybe it's worth more per annum, but you didn't commit yourself to the extra 2 years ahead of time.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, hey, listen, San Diego Padres, it's your money, whatever you want. So that's kind of my thought on that. I want to make sure I got that out there. So I'm not knocking the deal. I just found it odd. It just seems strange.
Yeah, I feel that's fair. I feel that's fair.
Yeah. So, and kind of leading into the point we made earlier is like, if that means that Juan Soto is going to get a mega deal, hey, he deserves it. Juan Soto's got a batting title and a World Series championship. Two things that Mike Trout doesn't have. And there'll be more Mike Trout hate next week. But I needed to get you guys a little taste of what's to come. A little taste.
But more importantly, Carlos, what has this 14-year extension done to the value of a Fernando Tatis Jr. rookie card?
At the moment, not a whole heck of a lot.
Interesting.
Just because the thing is, I think there's anticipation. The Juan Soto market has heated up. I think Fernando Tatis's will, though. I think it's been a slow burn with Fernando Tatis a little bit more. Why, I don't know. I guess maybe part of it could be that nobody knows what to make of. Like San Diego has made a lot of splashy moves. Machado is still a good player. Just so we're clear, like there's a lot of players that they have. But it's like, so what is it supposed to be? I don't know.
Have you invested in any Fernando Tatis Jr. rookie cards?
I have a handful. Really low end stuff, but cheap, not expensive. I got it super cheap. But I've got a handful, and if he does well, I'll do fine. But it's one of those things where I didn't put a lot in that basket. It wouldn't have been a terrible idea though. You would have done well, I'd say. So I'll give you an analogy. I'll give you an example. His 2019 Topps Chrome is a good example. Now it's got a high population, so let's not get this wrong. PSA 10, 2019 Topps Chrome, Fernando Tatis. If you had bought in 2019, you could have gotten it for about $45. These days it runs about 470. So you would have bought it 10 times your money.
Yeah.
That's not offensive. And that's about what a Juan Soto runs. You're running about $500 for Soto. So it's in the same ballpark. So right now I would say both those guys are pretty good bets as far as that's concerned. I don't think you'll do badly in either guy.
Yeah.
Population reports are not low. Those cards are very available if somebody wants them badly enough. We'll see. Like right now, those are considered two of the rising young stars in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. The one that'll be interesting, I think, will be the name escapes me right now. The kid out of Atlanta.
Ozuna? Acuna.
Yeah, Ronald Acuna. He's the one who's been a little cheaper than you would expect, but we'll have to see because he's shown promise too. Not quite to the same degree as those guys, but Atlanta is also kind of on the uptick, I will say. So by contrast, to give you comparison, Ronald Acuna's top scrum is running about $222. So if Acuna is a decent player, you can get him for you can get 2 Acunas for the price of either a Soto or a Tatis.
Yeah.
Maybe something to keep in mind if you think that Acuna could be a player long term, because he's a young guy too.
There you go.
So there you go. I give you a little value play just in case you want something to keep an eye on for yourselves. Just bear that in mind. And in terms of population report, it's about the same. And you could, if that comes to pass, you could do okay, I think. We'll have to see. Who knows?
Nice.
So, yep, that's the big one for that. And the other one you got to keep an eye on is good old Walker Buehler. If he becomes the ace of the staff and they go back to the World Series, you never know. Buehler.
It's true.
Now, that one, I have a small stack of those. I might have a small stack of those. Just saying. Even though traditionally pitchers don't do that great, but you can get them cheap. So you can get them cheap for now. So those are things to bear in mind. So just keep that in mind. And the other reason I wanted to bring up the Fernando Tatis thing is because in addition to being perplexed by the long extension and the dollars involved, I kept hearing a little piece of trivia that I had to go look up, and I was like, oh yeah, that made me laugh. Okay, so Fernando Tatis was not drafted by the Padres.
No, okay. Who was he drafted by?
The Chicago White Sox.
Interesting.
He was traded as a prospect in 2016. Now, would you like to know what the trade was?
Absolutely, I do.
Fernando Tatis Jr. was traded in 2016 as a young prospect.
So, at what level of ball is he playing at this point? Any idea?
2016? I can tell you. Let me see.
As Carlos checks Baseball Reference.
Yep, I got it already in front of me. He was playing in rookie ball, A ball, double A.
Okay.
So still really early in his development. He's still like a full-fledged prospect.
All right. Okay? Yep.
So with that said, he was traded from the Chicago White Sox with Eric Johnson to the San Diego Padres for big game shields and cash.
Ooh.
Big game shields and cash.
Yeah, I'd say that trade so far has worked out quite well for the San Diego Padres.
That deal was done in 2016. In 2016 in San Diego, James Shields was 2-7 with a 4.28 ERA. In 2017 with the Chicago White Sox, he was 5-7 with a 5.23 ERA. In 2018, he was 7-16, leading the league in losses with a 4.53 ERA. James Shields is not in Major League Baseball anymore. Big game Shields.
Interestingly enough, though, the Chicago White Sox are a half decent team as it is. Imagine what the Chicago White Sox would be like right now with
Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah.
In addition to Luis Robert and all the other players they've got. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, baseball.
Think about it. Now you know.
And knowing is half the battle.
On that bombshell, I leave you. I wanted to give everybody that little tidbit so they could have some fun with that. That little bombshell. And the thing is with all that, there's at least one person out there who thought it was a good deal at the time. Well, the Chicago White Sox, obviously, but you know who else thought it was a good deal at the time?
Who, Carlos?
We get it in at the end of the episode.
Got to do it, man. Got to do it.
All right, so that's it. If there's nothing else, then we'll call it an episode.
Let's do it.
All right, so next week we'll do the American League West. I will prepare and fully marshal all my sources of my Mike Trout hate. And I've got so much to give. So much to give. I'm ready. But I will take my time. I will prepare. I will build.
Yeah, he's not going to prepare anything for the actual preview part. But for the Mike Trout hate...
I don't give a crap about those teams. They're relevant. They don't
But
matter.
for the Mike Trout hate, you'll get it.
Oh. I'm going to be in Rocky-style training day. As soon as I click this buff button, I will be in a Rocky montage for a week straight.
I love it.
God damn, I'll be ready. I will be ready.
He will not let you down, ladies and gentlemen.
He'll be hurting bombs left, right, and center. He'll be hurting bombs left, right, and center. It'll be beautiful.
Let's do it, man. I'm looking forward to it already.
All right, so that's it for me and Dave. That is episode 84 of the Unnecessary Nonsense podcast. Tune into episode 85, where I may have some Mike Trout hate, just a little, just a smidgen. Just saying. But that'll be coming up next. And also, we're on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. Also on YouTube and the Necessary Nonsense Podcast YouTube channel. So that's it for me and Dave. Hashtag sponsor us. Also allegedly. And Stanley had it coming. I leave you with that for this episode